Okay, we're going live. Let's see here. Got it. Okay, it's almost there. Okay. All right, I think that we're on. Just going to make a few little adjustments here so I can see the screen a little bit better. Okay, hey everybody, it's Kelly Anderson, Biohacker Mom, and today I have a very special guest. I have Rachel Stark from Weston-super-Mare, England. Wanted to make sure I got that right, all the way across the pond. Yay. And so Rachel and I connected on a biohacker group within a biohacker group, and we kind of see eye to eye on a lot of biohacker topics. So I wanted to have her on today because I think she's brilliant. Oh. I think that, gosh, she blows me away and she makes me feel like, oh my gosh, I have so far to go to be a biohacker. She is really a very dynamic lady. She's a mom and she loves to help people get healthy from a natural standpoint. And so basically, Rachel, just tell us a little bit about yourself.
Yeah, hey Kelly, thanks so much for having me on. This is so fun. Yeah, natural, definitely. So I am an educator by training, and I've been what I'd call an edu-hacker. So an education sort of coach, and using a hacking mentality to try and get the most out of the exam window for my students over the years, working with adults, children, and the little ones as well. And more recently, in the last year or so, I've definitely sort of applied some of my thinking into the biohacking world, and just about meeting people where they are. I think that that's kind of my angle on it. With biohacking, sometimes we might associate the term with a certain type of person, perhaps somebody who's really interested in and using the gym or taking shakes and nutrition in that way, or perhaps somebody that's really interested in juicing or a certain ways of working. But for me, biohacking is just a systematic way of improving yourself and tracking that progress, but just doing things in a clever way, utilizing time, utilizing resources, but for me, doing that in as natural way as possible as well. So it's kind of fusing things from ancient cultures and history, Victorians and Edwardian sort of culture of sort of health in England, and then the more modern awarenesses and research that we've had coming through the last 100 years or so of what I'd call modern science. So trying to fuse the old and the new, but really meeting people where they are, rather than them having to become somebody. They are already on a journey, aren't we all? So yeah, just to help people to move forward from where they are.
Wow, I think that you just summed up biohacking. That should be like in the dictionary, your words verbatim. That's the definition. That was beautiful. That was so perfect. So you and I have talked a little bit about, we had a huge, extensive conversation one day. I think we talked for about 3 hours, didn't we? Something like that. It was really, it was epic. So a few areas come to mind with you that you are very passionate about. Mm-hmm. And so the number one thing, and it's the one that you are starting to become known for, is magnesium. And in fact, you are known as, show us your shirt.
Oh yeah.
Show us your shirt. Magnesium Girl. So
Magnesium
everybody
Girl.
out there, y'all, this is Magnesium Girl.
Yes.
She is your girl when it comes to magnesium. So, I have some questions about magnesium because it's an area that I am new to as far as biohacking goes. First of all, why is magnesium important?
Wow. Okay. So to me, it's the most sort of universally used substance in the body. So I think it's like the third or fourth biggest mineral substance in the body, but it gets into loads of different areas. So it's involved in our whole nervous system and how it works, our mood, our awareness, our sensory systems. Then it's used throughout digestion. Then it's used in our bones. In fact, about 0.2% of our bones is actually made of magnesium. It's needed for our muscles to function. So it's just everywhere. It's actually in every single cell in our body. Every cell needs magnesium to be able to do its function, to do its job. So I think that sometimes we're looking for kind of that one substance, that one little pill, that one thing. And if there was something as close as possible to this magic substance, then I'd say magnesium was that. So for example, when we make energy in our cells, magnesium is involved with making that energy. We call it ATP. But also that ATP actually needs to bind with magnesium to make a compound to be useful. So every single piece of energy that our body makes, that means that that cell can do its job, needs that magnesium to facilitate its function. So if we're low in magnesium, man, are we tired? Because our cells are literally not able to do their jobs properly. So it's really that fundamental level of just making everything else work.
Okay, so why would we be lacking in magnesium?
Yeah, for sure. And this is the thing, until a year ago, I had kind of once or twice heard that magnesium was in our body. I had no idea it was as significant as it is. And there's actually quite a few reasons why we're low. I mean, I think the main one is when we're eating and drinking, we should be having magnesium along with, hundreds of other substances, a lot of which are minerals. Magnesium's a mineral. We should be getting them in through our diet. But what's happened, especially over the last sort of 50 years or so, is the farming standards haven't really paid a lot of attention to magnesium. So it's not getting replenished in the soils. So then it's not in our food chain as high as it might be. And then we've got a lot of more processed foods, more highly processed foods, and actually just dealing with the food, even something like taking the grain off of the kernel off of the outside of the grain to make some flour and to make it into bread and pastry and pasta and things. We are losing the most magnesium dense parts, and we're losing a lot of magnesium in that process. So we're just not getting as much in for every mouthful of food that we would have done 40, 50 years ago. So we just slowly lower generation on generation from our food sources. And then the water, we're recycling a lot of water, we're purifying, processing water. And again, just because of the awareness around it, the magnesium rate, there's no sort of optimum level for most countries. It's just as it is. And we used to have natural water courses going through rocky areas where there was a lot more magnesium in the soil, in the rocks and the stones that would have gathered in the water. But because we're kind of recycling quite a lot of the water these days, we're not getting the replenishment of that magnesium in our water. And once upon a time, the ratio between calcium and magnesium, which is, I'll tell you a little bit more about calcium's role later, used to be much more closely linked, 3 parts calcium to perhaps 1 part magnesium. But these days it's more like 10-to-1 ratio with our sort of piped water. So we're just not getting as much magnesium actually into us. And we're eating possibly the same or a bit more than we used to. But I think part of the reason we're inclined to eat a bit more is we're just not getting as much nutrition from that food and drink that, we're putting in. But there's a number of other reasons as well. So the state of our guts is not as good, partly linked to environmental toxins, herbicides actually in the food itself that interrupts our gut function. Medications, so quite a lot of people are on proton pump inhibitors for sort of stomach problems, and that can really stop the absorption of magnesium. And then people with any GI issues, maybe with diarrhea and things like this, any irritation, overgrowths, parasites, anything that's causing problems in the gut can also stop the absorption of magnesium happening as much as it kind of would be good to do. So even if we are kind of putting it in, we might not be getting it out of that food and into our body itself. So yeah, quite a few issues then. Another reason is diuretics, caffeine, cola drinks, things like that. That mean we're urinating a bit more. We actually urinate out magnesium in our body, and potassium and other substances as well. Because if we're urinating a bit more frequently, we could be losing a bit more salts, minerals that way. When we get a bit older, we have less magnesium anyway being retained. And then things that make us sweat can also help us to lose more. So exercise at a very high level, heated yoga is obviously one that's going to get you to sweat and move, but using saunas as well, anything that means that we're sweating out more. If we're not aware about that magnesium and actually some of the other electrolytes that need to go back in, then, we're doing ourselves a disservice there, and that can increase, muscle cramps and things. We can see quite clearly that we're just not getting enough in and getting it used in our body, and that can actually be a real problem that we're starting to see in society now.
Okay, so with that problems, what type of symptoms, if someone was to look at their body, how they were feeling, what type of symptoms would they be having with a magnesium deficiency?
Yeah, great question. And sometimes I can kind of go, gosh, almost anything, because of this underpinning role with all of the systems of the body. But I think some really obvious ones would be anxiety and depression. Anything that means we're a bit low. There's been quite a bit of research into this. Even, for example, a study into people that had attempted suicide, them having lower magnesium levels in their blood. So they were really at the bottom of the barrel of magnesium if it was low in their blood. Depression, anxiety, mood, bipolar disorder can all be linked to low magnesium levels. And I mentioned that one first because for me, especially as an educator, I'm working with a lot of younger people, and it's almost like a pandemic in itself, anxiety, especially between the younger generation, across the younger generations. But certainly in now, this pandemic, then we are having almost like a mental health crisis, to be completely honest. And I think with going forward, it'll be more of a problem. So then on the physical side, oh, wow. Eye twitching, muscle cramps, headaches, just aches, muscular issues that way. Like I said, just feeling tired. Then you have the constipation, and actually this is quite something that a lot of people actually deal with, but it's not something we like to talk about too much. So constipation can quite literally just be a super quick indication of not enough magnesium. And a lot of the products on the market for magnesium are on the market for constipation, especially as you get older. Older people can have that problem. So, that's a real quick one. And then, because it affects your nervous system, it affects your cardiovascular system. So sort of tingling, numbness, some of the quite often diabetic people get some indications like this, but you can get it at any age. Just some other weird little sometimes being a bit cold can be a symptom of magnesium. And then certainly the big one now as well is cardiovascular. So cardiovascular and kidney health is massively linked to magnesium levels. So irregular heartbeats, skipping heartbeats, even high blood pressure. or hypertension, as it's called when it's sort of diagnosed as a you know, a problem, can all be linked back down to magnesium. So it really is just something we just all really, really would value looking into and starting to monitor a little bit more of in our life.
So yeah, I remember when we first spoke, and it really just kind of blew my mind. And I had been kind of watching you before that, and I was like, wow, magnesium, really? I didn't know that it had the impact that it had. So for someone to figure out within themselves what their levels are, do they need to go to the doctor? Can they figure out for themselves? Is there home testing they can do? How do you figure this out?
Absolutely. And do you know what? This is the crux of why we're here and why we aren't already having these conversations. The medical world orientates around blood testing as a really common way of kind of peeking inside to the body. Obviously, we do scans and other things as well when we go to the doctors and the hospitals, but blood is such a quick way to ascertain what's going on. And for markers, you've got a marker for cancer, or you've got a marker because you've got some heart issues. Markers in your blood is amazing. The fact that we can just draw something out and within a couple of hours have this peak inside our system is such an amazing time to be alive, to just have that knowledge available, But a frustrating thing with nutrition is that we've got so many fluctuating variables to understand. When we take out that little bit of blood at that time, is the substances inside the blood on its way into the body because it's coming through the diet and the absorption and then going through the system? Is it on its way to be used somewhere in the body, or even is it on its way to be excreted out of the body? Because the blood is a transport system predominantly, so it's only about 7.5% of our whole body. So it's really useful, but it has its limits, and we do need some context around the blood test to really understand. Now, for some substances, it's going to be a little bit more useful to use blood, but for magnesium, it really sucks because in the body, hardly any magnesium at all is stored in the blood. It's less than 0.8% of the total body magnesium is in our blood.
9.8%, is that what?
0.8.
Oh, 0.
Less than 1%. Less than 1% of all of the magnesium in us is in the blood. And it's really tightly regulated to make sure that we've got enough magnesium for the cardiovascular system, because if we don't have enough magnesium, we're going to have a heart attack, because magnesium is essential for the heart function. The heart is a muscle, and to contract a muscle, you use calcium. To relax the muscle, magnesium is the substance that's driving the show. So the calcium and the magnesium, they work as this balancing pair. So when you have a heart attack, it's because you just don't have the ability for your body to relax again. And a lot of that is linked to magnesium levels as well.
Oh, wow.
So it's super tightly regulated. Yeah. So when we're taking the blood out, if we're right at the bottom of the barrel, then it's going to be showing in the blood. But if we're just low somewhere else in our liver or in our kidneys, we can't tell that from the blood. So it's such a hard situation that we've been using blood for, a good long while now, since we went through the Industrial Revolution and we're able to use that insight mechanism. But when it comes to magnesium, it's just not very helpful, unfortunately. So we can use a red blood cell magnesium test. And it's not very common, but it's better than nothing. So what that does is actually look inside your red blood cell to see how much magnesium is inside there. And that gives us a bit of a better indication of how much magnesium is inside our cells in other parts of our body. But again, we don't have the research to prove that even that actually accurately indicates how much magnesium is in other places of our body, you know, is in our organs and in between our sort of intracellular and extracellular tissues and things. So it is tricky. There is a 24-hour urine test you can do, especially if you were in hospital, you could ask for that. But we do have a need for something a little bit more comprehensive. I would love a scan where you just put your arm under something and it can sort of establish it that way. So we're not quite there yet. There are things in development, certainly not things that have been rolled out to all the hospitals. But if you can ask for a red blood cell magnesium test. Now, the problem we've got, Kelly, is this is really quite recent information that they're realizing that the percentage in the blood is so regulated. And so doctors and other medical professionals have been using blood tests, serum tests for magnesium for decades as a way to see the level of magnesium. Mm-hmm. So there's a potential they could have missed low levels of magnesium in the rest of the body if they're only looking in the blood, because the blood only shows the blood for this, you know, for this substance. So we're in a really awkward situation of doctors, medical professionals having to learn that what they had been doing maybe isn't the most comprehensive way of looking at things, and to embrace, you know, the latest research on it. But it actually takes an average of 17 years for the science research to become practice. And, you know, people question why, and, you know, I've worked in IT before, and the turnaround and, you know, adoption of new knowledge in IT is like, you know, within weeks and months. So, you know, it's the way the system's set up. That means that the doctors and other medical professionals just maybe don't know the latest research. It's really hard to go in and say, hey, can I have this thing? And for them to go, well, we've always done it this way. And for that to actually, it's a very sensitive, can you see it's a sensitive situation that we find ourselves in? And, you know, it's not a conspiracy that people are not doing it on purpose. It's just culture. We have a strong blood test culture. We've done it for decades and decades. You know, senior doctors are training new doctors, and we just need to bring some more knowledge and a better way of doing things in. And just that red blood cell test is going to be the, you know, the right step to start to get a much more accurate picture of the magnesium levels going on.
Okay.
So yeah, it is tricky. And, you know, if I was going to hospital for something, you don't want to undermine or cause a problem, but equally you want to get the service that you want to get from, you know, when you're paying for it, especially. So I think that it's going to be something that the public can talk about, and that the medical professionals will be talking about more and more going forward. So luckily I'm on an international magnesium research group, so I'm already working with doctors and researchers. So there are a load of us out there, it's not just me, but I'm kind of more sort of public facing. And I think it's going to be the, you know, the new window. You know, magnesium's going to certainly get elevated in conversations in medical settings. So things will get better for sure.
Now, do you think there are any instances, or is it possible to have too much magnesium?
Yeah, it is. So there's only been a couple of recorded deaths linked to, you know, an obscenely high amount of magnesium, and some serious situations as well. They have all related to over supplementation. So I remember reading a study of somebody who had an eating disorder and was using an excessive amount of magnesium to facilitate, you know, diarrhea and things, and caused herself some problems that way. So we, you know, and to be mindful as well of adapting an appropriate level of magnesium for younger and more slender people, you know, to just be aware. So as with every substance in the world, it's always in the dosage. So I'm not saying that there's a problem with this any more than that there's a, you know, a problem with eating a banana. If we were to eat 10 bananas, we're going to have problems in the next hour or two. So, you know, magnesium, like everything else, you just need to be just a little bit aware. But the great thing when you're supplementing, or even if you were to just use rather than oral supplementation topically, you know, going into an Epsom salt bath or spraying something on, your body tells you pretty darn quick if you're like overdosing, if you're going a bit too fast, because you quite literally get loose stools, you know, you get the poops, because what magnesium does is draw water. So as it goes through your intestines, it's going to draw more water into your intestines. So if you've got a bit too much magnesium in there and it's drawing a bit too much water, you're going to get much more runny, you know, stuff going on. So you get very clear guidance, which I really like, because you can go at the pace that's right for you. Now, some people, when they do start supplementing, they might have kind of like a side effect, as anything else that we're taking with a bit of a punch, you know, if it's, you know, a tablet form of something is, you know, a bit of a punch. So magnesium is kind of unique because it comes chelated. It comes with a mate. So it's very unstable by itself. So it always comes with something else. Now, the other thing can also have an effect on your body. So you need to, you know, work out what's kind of right for you. And the dose that's right for you. So the recommended amounts are a little bit different across different countries. In the UK, the NHS is a little bit lower. I actually use the Linus Pauling Institute levels, and they are 320 milligrams of magnesium for women and more around 420 for men. Now, I find the dosing of the supplement and nutrition sort of market kind of strange, because we do it for our pets using weights. So we would weigh somebody and then we would give an indication of a medication or a substance or whatever, or even food for the weight. But for some reason, we don't work like that for humans, but I do. I would work out things by weight so that, you know, we had some sort of ballpark to keep in mind. So with magnesium, you've got the other bit and the magnesium. And quite often magnesium is 10%, 15%, 20% of the total product. And the other bit is the sort of the lion's share. So to work out exactly how much magnesium you're getting, you need to just have a little think. Now, supplement companies are a bit of a pain. Sometimes they're terrible at labeling and they don't give you the total product and then just the magnesium part. Sometimes they make it very confusing and you can't really tell. And they just talk about, oh, this is, you know, 320 milligrams, but they put the whole product as 320 milligrams, which means your actually magnesium part would be like 40 milligrams, which is like eating 2 pieces of broccoli or something. So it is a bit tricky. And again, I think that this is why, you know, this one's not as straightforward and off the tongue for even when medical professionals are talking about magnesium, you know, for people that have maybe got migraines or needing recovery from surgery, because magnesium is great for recovery and injury and all kinds of things too. I think that there is some sort of grayness about how clearly we should be talking about magnesium. And that's part of, you know, my role is to make sure that we're understanding how this product works properly so that we can get a feel for where we are and how much is the right amount for us.
So I feel like we should say here, we're not physicians.
Oh, well, no.
Neither one of us are physicians. And so we're certainly not prescribing here. It's basically just information, right? And each person individually is different. So anyone watching this, I don't want them to think, oh my gosh, I've got to run out and I've got to get magnesium. I want you, if you after hearing this, I want you to research it. I want you to contact Rachel, get more information, speak with your doctor for whatever issues you've got going on. I just want to say, you know, we're not here prescribing. We're saying that magnesium is important and possibly very helpful for your health, but we cannot prescribe here.
No, nothing I'm giving is medical help at all. So I focus on health. So if you've got a medical need, you need to go to a medical specialist like your doctor, you know, or your consultant. And especially if you're taking medications already, you do want to double check that there's not going to be any counterindication to taking any type of supplement with that medication as well. Because if that medication is keeping you functioning in an optimal way, and keeping you from deteriorating or anything like this, and that's actually a really important thing for your body. We don't want to go messing with any of that. So I think it's really important, Kelly, what you said then about keeping, you know, the awareness of how biohacking benefits, but then keeping the value of the medical side. And even though I was just saying about the limitations of blood and how, you know, science is an evolving field and medicine's an evolving field, like this is not to undermine or anything. This is to work alongside and to help empower people to ask those questions and to take that health journey, you know, and know more themselves so they can, you know, achieve what they want to achieve with their body right now.
Exactly. I think it is good for people watching to kind of have this in the back of their head, and when they do go to the doctor, bring up the topic of magnesium, because you know, I'm, you know, late 40s, and I wasn't aware. My doctors have never said anything about magnesium. So, you know, that's what I would suggest in watching this. Do your research, learn about it, contact Rachel, get more information. But then when you go to your doctor to figure out what's the best way to get magnesium, bring it up, you know, along with whatever other issues you might have. Bring up the magnesium issue and figure out.
What's really interesting is that there's very different nutritional training and nutritional awareness levels with different doctors, especially like linked to the time maybe they were trained. Like it's almost like nutritional, sometimes it might have been, you know, they had to do 30 hours of nutrition, and then another cohort might have had to have done, you know, 10 hours of nutritional training as they've, you know, training to be a general practitioner or something. So sometimes the doctors don't know the details, and that's where you can come to the biohacker community and go, hey guys. And you can go to other communities as well. So there are people that already have like a label for their condition, perhaps, can go and meet other people with that condition that have found a product, a nutrition, a food, a diet, you know, meal plan, you know, even a recipe that can support you. So we're at this brilliant time where we have so much information and networking abilities, you know, for people like Kelly and me to meet each other and just, you know, unite in our journeys and help each other, that we can help each other so much now. It's just, you know, I just feel so blessed to live in these times with the technology and the information that we can share with each other.
Yeah, it is. It's really phenomenal. And I think more than ever, people like us, we can still be of support. You know, in the past, I think it's always been doctors. You've got to just see a doctor about anything health related. And I'm not putting down the Western medical system at all. I'm not doing that here. But I do think that there is value in homeopathic and natural remedies. And I think, you know, sometimes even thinking outside the box.
Yeah.
And the medical system doesn't always do that. And so I think that's kind of
it's time, you know, it doesn't have time. You know, when you're a consultant, a surgeon, a doctor, you're seeing your patients, you know, the actual time you have available to kind of up your own knowledge and to be analytical or sporadic and stuff is so limited. We work our professionals so hard, and these are people that have trained for a long time, and you know, the commitment and the hours that they work and things, you know, these are people I applaud. You know, my sister's in the health service as well. And so if we can complement, if we can work and share expertise in different ways without the hierarchy of, well, what do you know because you didn't go to medical school, or you know, the opposite of, well, you know, what can you you know, just that, you know, without the barriers, if we can work together. You know, I'm very strong at analysis. I pick up, link things together from different places. So we have a role for analysts to work with researchers, scientists, and people working, you know, medically to move medicine forward and to move nutrition and health forward. So yeah, it's going to be exciting the way that this evolves with the, you know, the era that we're in at the moment. You know, it's going to be good, Kelly. I'm excited by what the future is going to hold for us all.
I am very excited too. I do think that people like us are kind of being called upon to kind of give hope. I feel like I'm being called upon to give hope to people who might just be terrified right now, or what, I'm here to say, it's going to be okay. And we have things that we can grab onto that can really keep us healthy and keep us safe. So, okay, so go ahead.
Oh, I was going to just say, what's actually really interesting, I didn't mention earlier, is increased stress, cortisol production, increased fear actually burn through our magnesium stores more, because magnesium is used to balance things and process substances out of the body. So if we are low and then concerned and worried by whatever, or we've had a traumatic event, we can be lowering our magnesium levels without even realizing it. So it really is, important for people to be starting these conversations about magnesium, because practically, emotionally, even spiritually, magnesium also links to melatonin production. So if you have more magnesium, you can make more melatonin. So you have the sleep and rest side of that. And people also talk about the intuition and spiritual sides of increasing magnesium. It has been reported.
Oh,
so we are talking about
that's a whole other day of talking. I like that one a lot.
Like I can't talk about that. I'm not an expert in that field, but I'm just, there's so many levels and layers to knowing about this, and to bring some awareness to it. That, yeah, go on. We're going to talk about something new. Let's talk about a new chapter.
Well, actually, it made me think of something else, because we were talking earlier about gut health, and I know that's another area that you're really interested in. But what are some foods that people can eat to help with their magnesium levels?
Yes. So magnesium comes from the green part of plants. It's in the chlorophyll, the bit that the plant needs to make its own energy from the sunlight. Right in the middle of the chlorophyll, there are 4 rings with magnesium in the middle. And it's really random, because in our blood, there are little red blood cells. Within the red blood cells, there's heme. And hemoglobin, you might have heard of. Heme also has these 4 little rings with a little molecule with iron in the center. And the heme and the chlorophyll are almost identical structurally. So we have this green part of nature that benefits us. Plants do also use iron as well. But I just find that so fascinating. We've got this physical echo between the blood and the energy force of the human body, and the green and the energy force of the plant world. Wow. So the green leaves, or green stalks and bits and pieces as well, but obviously the leaves are, most densely populated usually, would normally just be rotted down into the soil, and then the soil would, give availability to the magnesium to the, the plants and foods and everything that's there. So green food has loads of magnesium in it. So broccoli and peas, and a sweet corn also does as well, have quite a high level of magnesium in it. Okay. And then green leafy things. Just as a word of warning, if you're not already a veggie kind of eater, the vegetables are not the happiest at being eaten. They do actually provide kind of anti-nutrients, little things that are antagonistic to us. So if you were to suddenly start eating loads more green leafy vegetables, especially, you can get something called oxalates, which can cause problems with your kidneys and stuff, and can cause problems with your tissue. So you don't want to go from 0 to 60 on eating loads of vegetables. But it's also in meat and dairy, and anything that eats the green. So, a duck that's eating algae, and a cow that's eating grass. So that magnesium's in their organs and their muscle meat. So if you want a bit of pate, if you want a bit of fish, you're going to be getting a nice dose of magnesium in those. And then the last group that's really higher in magnesium, that's not animal products or green stuff, is nuts and seeds. So baby plants. And again, they're quite dense.
Baby what?
Baby plants, nuts and seeds.
Baby plants.
Yeah, baby plants. So sprouted, sprouted plants, little seedlings that are sprouted, or just nuts and seeds themselves.
Okay.
So they're the three main groups where you're going to get a nice amount of magnesium in. But you can also get magnesium drinks. There's a lot of sports drinks have magnesium in, but you want to check, because sometimes it's not prioritized very much for electrolyte drinks that replenishes all of the charged minerals that we lose when we're sweating. You can also get magnesium through Epsom salts or other bath salts, magnesium chloride. So Epsom salts is magnesium and sulfur together in a product. It's a natural salt that you get in the sea as well. And then you can get magnesium chloride, which is also a natural salt. So you can bath in that. You can make up a spray bottle with maybe 10, 15, 20% salt and water. Maybe start at 10 if you've never done it before. You can spray it on anything that's hairy, or allow it to go into you. And also your nails. People don't know about this, but your nails actually absorb minerals as well. So if you're doing the gardening, you're going to get some minerals into your body that way, if it's wet soil especially. And then you've got the other route, which is to supplement already. So like I said, there's this mate bit. So the most common one on the market in the UK is magnesium oxide. And that's about 10% magnesium, and it's designed for the pooping thing. So you probably don't want to be doing that one, because it's kind of geared up to deal with constipation. So my recommendation would be a magnesium glycinate.
Okay.
So magnesium and glycine, which is an amino acid, so a part of protein. Now, this isn't a natural substance. This is a man-made. There's a substance here, glycine, which we have as a supplement, and there's a substance here, magnesium, and we're going to put those together. You can also get magnesium with various plant-based acids as well. So maybe malic acid or citric acid. I do not recommend the citric acid. It's called magnesium citrate. So I'd avoid magnesium oxide, and I'd avoid magnesium citrate. And that's just because you need the citric acid bit that's already quite abundant in a lot of processed food, and already in citrus fruits and other fruit and veg, is a bit of a problem with copper metabolism. So you don't want to be putting a large amount in as a daily supplement. That I would recommend magnesium becomes for anybody that is thinking they need to get more into them. So glycinate is the one that I recommend. I can't recommend a brand though, Kelly, at the moment, because I'm a bit concerned about quality and stuff, and I am considering looking into a brand and a mix that is better. There's other ones on the market that are kind of geared for different situations. So magnesium 3 and 8 is good for brain and cognitive skills, and stopping brain fog and things. Glycinate is great because the glycine is good for sleep. It's good for repairing tissue, and collagen tissue especially, which is something, especially if we've gone through the menopause, we tend to be very low in collagen. And it's a lot of sports injuries are actually collagen damage as opposed to muscle damage. So I think that glycine is really, really useful for us all anyway. But like I said, it isn't a natural combination. If you have cancer or suspected cancer, I wouldn't go for an amino acid linked with magnesium. So I wouldn't go for 3 and 8 or glycinate, just because some cancers out there actually can use the protein, the amino acid, to get an advantage. So one of the products on the market that's kind of more natural would be salts-based ones. And again, I don't have a brand for you on that, but you'd want to look for one that's a natural salt base that would have magnesium chloride in it, or carbonate. So yeah, just trying to navigate, and I wish I had the confidence of going, this is the one for everybody, but I'm not there, I'm only a year in. There's so much on the market, I wouldn't want to get that wrong. So
right. And we're not here to prescribe, I have to say that over and over. We're certainly not here to prescribe, definitely find a physician that you are that you feel comfortable with, who is open to talking about these sorts of things, and
Yeah.
and work with them. You know, we're not here.
Yeah, and there's some great functional medicine doctors now that have got a foot in either camp, you know. So
Right.
that's great to see happening. Well, certainly you've got a lot more of them than we have at the moment, but and you know, naturopaths and dietitians, and other people that you know, going to have more expertise and might be able to advise you if you want to do a bit more. So
Definitely.
yeah.
Wow. Whoa. So we were going to try to get into sleep and gut health,
Yeah.
but I told Rachel before this that she's just so dynamic on this topic of magnesium. I said I kind of want to focus on the magnesium, and then I'll have you back and we can talk about all the other stuff, because this lady is an oasis of information. I'm just blown away at her knowledge, and she digs deep. She really does. You're just such a smart lady. I'm just so impressed with you. And like I told you earlier, my brain does not work like yours. And so that's why I have you on my show, because I could never present this information like you can. Really, you just do a phenomenal job. So I just appreciate you so much coming on, and really enjoyed talking to you a lot. What's your plan for all of this? Do you want to be the world magnesium girl? What is your
well, so my very good friend Abby like got this talk organized for me, because all of my mates started calling me Magnesium Girl, because I was like, oh my gosh, it helps with strokes. Oh my gosh, it helps with gout. Oh my, so they were just like, oh man, she just keeps learning these things and talking to us. So it was just, it just evolved quite naturally. So like, I don't have like a plan. I kind of have some dreams. I would love that people have more knowledge of magnesium. I mean, I would love for magnesium to go back into the water, to just have that little low level amount back in the water. You know, done slowly, introduced, because obviously it has that sort of, you know, it's a diarrhea effect as well. So we don't want to be going crazy here, but just to put it back where it was 50 years ago, slowly over a decade or so. And I would love for hospital food to have more of it in. I would love there to be more mixes of IV fluids that are more magnesium aware there, so that we're able to give patients some magnesium as almost like well, it won't hurt them to have it kind of first port of call. Is it takes some magnesium and you know, whilst you're waiting, you know, up post triage, you know, for there to be that it's a little bit more of a go-to substance medically as well, because I think it's just going to support the other things that could be going wrong. If you've got enough magnesium around, then you'll be able to facilitate that healing quicker, whatever it is that you're perhaps in the emergency room for. And you know, I would love for you know, for the anxiety and depression stuff to subside, you know, and I would love everybody to know what I know. And I think one area that I'm really interested in, maybe I'll come back and talk to you this another time, Kelly, is how magnesium underpins our body's ability to deal with inflammation, and also to like regulate ourselves back to more of a homeostasis position. You know, our body's always trying to get back in balance by making our own antioxidants. So magnesium is used to make melatonin, which is an amazing antioxidant and chelator in the body to remove things we don't need. And glutathione as well is a whole process, a cycle of a way to help our body get back in balance. And magnesium is so important for both of those things that I'd like people to know how they can boost their own antioxidant production as well, just to keep us, ticking over and feeling good for longer, even, in the longevity sphere and things like that as well. So
Definitely.
I don't have a plan yet. If someone wants to help me with a plan, come to Twitter. Hi, you talk a lot, you know a lot, but you haven't got a plan. Yeah, I know, sorry. I need somebody to, mentor me a little bit, perhaps, and take me forward.
I think that it might just fall in your lap eventually. You keep talking and educating, and I think something is just going to fall in your lap. In the meantime, can I call you Maggie?
Maggie G.
Maggie G, I love it.
Yeah.
Okay, so if someone wants to reach out to you, I'm gonna, of course, after we finish, I'm gonna put this in the comments any way that you want people to contact you. But to go ahead and tell them right now, email, what's the best way for people to reach out to you?
At the moment, I haven't even decided on a brand to have a blog and this, that, and the other. So I share my thoughts mostly on Twitter.
Okay.
And I just used an old account that I've had for a number of years and started putting thoughts out there, and I've grown a little bit of a following, so that's lovely. And it's just Local Rachel, and you spell that LOCALRACHEL, Local Rachel.
Okay.
And sometimes I share, obviously I'm talking about magnesium, talking about antioxidants, gut health, various different bits and pieces. I also share some sort of ideas and theories that I'm working on, and what about this, and could it be this, and things like that as well. So sometimes you'll be like, what is she talking about? But obviously I'm not coming from oh, I'm researching this and this is expertly put forward. I put forward postulates and ideas that people can respond to, and almost like a peek into what the future could be for us as well. So just to bear in mind that you're not going to get just science papers. You're going to get a little bit of who I am and how I think as well on this. So but come and join me on Twitter at Local Rachel, and I'm quite interactive. I'm on there most days for parts of the day. Come and get stuck in and become part of the Magnesium posse.
I love it. Well, I cannot thank you enough for joining me today. It was a fantastic talk, amazing information. It's probably 7:45 where you are, so you're staying up kind of late for us here in the States. So I just appreciate it so much, and you will be coming back. We will be talking again for sure, because I'm fascinated in all that you have. That day we talked for 3 hours. We went way beyond magnesium. So this lady here, you guys look her up on Twitter. She is, like I said, an oasis of information. And if you're interested in biohacking at all, I think in the future, you're going to be at the forefront for sure.
Oh, bless you, Kelly.
Yeah,
definitely. The thing is, though, people like me that are, starting out and are not so organized, they know exactly where our purpose is. It's people like you that go, hey, I want you to come do this thing. And I'm like, yeah, okay, I can do that. It only works when we're working as a team. It only works when it's a community. There's no authority and then serf people below. We are a community, Kelly. So thank you so much for what you do, and to taking biohacking to the mom domain. So important. Moms are raising children more than any other demographic, obviously. Obviously there are other people that raise children, but the responsibility of parenting is huge, and the anxiety and everything that comes as part of that. As a mom myself, I've had that process. So anything we can do to support our parents, amazing. Thanks so much.
That's another topic too.
Just parenting. Oh my gosh. Awesome. Right. Thanks so much for having me today.
Thank you so much, Rachel. Have a great afternoon, and thank you everybody for watching. We really enjoyed this, and we'll see you soon.
Yes. Bye.
All right. Bye.